This is The Wheel Weaves, a Wheel of Time podcast with no spoilers. Welcome, listeners. This podcast is safe for first-time readers because it's made by a first-time reader. I'm your host, Dani, and I'm the one who's taken on the task of reading through this 15-book mega-series. I'm joined by my co-host, Brett, who's a longtime fan, and he's acting as my tour guide on this journey. Before we get into things today, I just want to talk a little bit about social media because it has been a very exciting week for us. We have hit over 500 followers on Twitter and over 700 followers on Instagram, and both of those things happened this week. So we're very excited. We're very thankful for all of our followers and all of our listeners. And if you aren't following us on social media yet, we love interacting with our listeners and we love your comments and questions. So be sure to follow us at The Wheel Weaves Podcast. And thanks again to everyone who is already such an amazing supporter. This episode, we're going to be talking about Chapter 31, Play for Your Supper.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be back with Rand and Matt right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we left on a very ominous note.
Right. With Egwene and Perrin?
No, the last time we saw Matt and
Rand, they were running away.
Yeah, and Tom had just sacrificed himself to save them.
I'm so lost because I just edited an episode with Nynaeve, and they were in Whitebridge. And so then I'm thinking, okay, well, where did we last leave off in the book for reading? So, note to self.
And then what episode did we just release?
Yeah,
so it's all muddled right now.
The day of recording because it messes with my brain and where all the characters are.
Yeah.
I just blank stare at you when you said we left off ominously. I just couldn't remember where we left off. Okay. Rand and Matt left Whitebridge.
Yeah, they were running away because they had seen the Fade in the middle.
Right, and Tom was fighting
Tom fought the Fade and they escaped out. And that's where we left them. And then we got a whole lot of everybody else to catch us up on what they were doing, and now we're finally back at Matt and Rand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about these chapters also because they are quite muddled in their order of events. It's not written in a streamlined fashion, and that is intentional, and we'll go into that later.
Yeah, because I also have a question about timeline at this point.
I organized the events because I thought that you would have questions about that.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
That's funny. And that's good that you have something like that because this is such a short chapter.
Yes.
That not much really happens in. And I know you're smiling because you think tons happens in it.
Yeah, well, every time you say that, we still get like an hour of conversation. So.
Yeah, we make it work. But you also refuse to do a double chapter episode because you say the next episode is pretty intense.
Yeah, the next one's a good one. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah, and this one's also good.
Yeah.
And the previous 30 were also good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So let's do a fun fact, and I have a short one for us today. And this one I wanted to bring up because we kind of talked about it when Tyler was here guesting with us.
Okay.
And what we were talking about was authors who kind of let characters take their own control in the book series.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and how like in Game of Thrones, George Martin really kind of like lets his characters evolve themselves. But this is a funny one that I took out of a bit of a transcript with Robert Jordan. The person asking him this question asked, has this saga taken on a life of its own over the years? And RJ replied, I'm not sure what you mean. If you're talking about the claim by some writers that characters take on a life of their own and begin writing the story, then no. I created the story, I created these characters, and I am the Old Testament God with my fist in the middle of their lives. The characters do what I want, the story goes where I want.
Nice.
Yeah, that he's like, nope, this is mine, and they do exactly what I say.
What a powerful statement to call himself God.
He's
of this story, of this universe, it is me, I am all ruling.
Oh yeah, it's my book, it's my story, it's not the character's story.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of funny.
It's such an interesting way to think about your writing, because there are writers who truly believe that you immerse yourself in the character so much that they go where they want, kind of thing.
And he's like, nope, it's me.
It's a different style for sure.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so diving into Chapter 31 here, Play for Your Supper. Now, I originally thought this was a Matt chapter?
Yeah, and I was curious. I'm not sure if we caught that on the recording.
No, we didn't.
Okay, because I remember you said after we finished the last chapter...
I was excited to read because it's a Matt chapter.
Yeah,
and he just sort of stared at me.
I didn't say anything.
And it's not.
It's not, no.
And that's okay. I guess we'll just have to wait for Matt's head.
It's Matt adjacent.
Yeah,
so.
but then I also thought being inside Matt's head right now would probably suck.
Yes.
Like, he's miserable.
Honestly, I think it would give away a lot of the things we don't know what's going on about Matt right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of question marks.
That's true.
So being in his head would be a little bit revealing.
Yeah, but I think it would also be quite intense. Because
Yes.
he is negative Nancy.
Yeah.
I summed up this chapter by saying Matt is still cursed.
Yeah.
And Rand is bad with girls.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an understatement.
That's this chapter in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all that happens.
All right.
Just the end.
And that's it for this episode.
Yeah. Okay, but I guess we do have a little bit to go into, some things to break down. There are some instances that are important to the story. So, we just left the boys on the Camelin Road. They were instructed not to stop until they got to Camelin. So, we start here with Rand and Matt on the side of the road, searching a hedge to crawl through to hide behind.
Yes.
Now, a little confusing. I didn't get quite what was going on. I had to read it a couple times.
Yeah.
But the road is really dusty, and this actually lets them know when people are coming down it, like before they can see them.
Yeah, the first couple paragraphs here, it's really a little bit hard to follow because this is clearly a time lapse.
Yes.
A large amount of time has happened from when they left Whitebridge to this event right now.
Yeah.
And then we go back in time for the entire chapter.
Exactly. You know, there's a lot of chapters that start that way.
Yeah.
The last chapter, the chapter I actually was just editing, the Nynaeve chapter with Maureen and Lan, they start the chapter by being at the White Bridge.
Yes.
And then they go back to recap everything that happened.
And this one's just written a little bit more confusing because RJ goes back and forth,
it
back
hops
and forth.
all around.
Yeah, I think a large reason why he does that is to make you feel the same way the boys are probably feeling, where it's like all over the place and it's been a long, really tiring journey.
Okay.
And everything's kind of mashed into one big event.
Yeah,
so.
I've heard that that's a theme Robert Jordan likes. I've heard it specifically about that one chapter that's like longer than a Harry Potter book.
Yeah.
That one. And it's intentional because you're supposed to feel like, is this ever going to end? Like,
yes.
And I have no context, but I have seen that. And it's like a style of his writing that you need to be immersed in the character. And
absolutely.
I find that with these dream sequences, too, that keep happening, they're really confusing, but they're written exactly like I would experience a dream.
Yeah,
after
like
waking up,
it's not supposed to make sense.
and then trying to explain it to somebody, they don't. It doesn't make sense. So I get it, but I'm glad to be moving past it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you think, right?
Right. Okay. Anyways, so they get sort of like a bit of a heads up when a bunch of dust is being kicked up, especially when people, I guess, are traveling by horse, especially riding down the road. At one point in their travel down this road, they ran into a farmer who gave them both a scarf to put over their faces to stop them from breathing in all the dust.
Yeah, that
so
kind of
just
makes
like
sense.
a nice act of kindness in these like troubling times. So that was just a little point there.
Yeah, and these two boys, they're clearly out of place. Like, we really get no context for this farmer, how it all came about. But if you just look at these two boys, it mentions that, like, the scarves are not very clean anymore. So they have been going on for quite a long time. But they're also not prepared. Like, they don't have anything really. So for the farmer to show some kindness and lend them even just headscarves to, like, wrap around their faces.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
Yeah. So Matt finds a place in the hedge where they're able to crawl through and hide from the men on horse coming down the road. So they crouch and hide as about 7 men ride past them, and Rand notes that Matt is snarling like a badger.
Yeah.
And I love this callback. It is just so fun and cute.
Just a little, yeah.
Yeah, like the angry badger that maybe you caught and was going to release on the green.
Yeah, and we assume that Dav took care of, but we don't know.
We assume. And when you say take care of, kept as a pet.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
And
badgers are known as good
and
pets.
treated really nice. But anyway, so he also has his hand on the dagger under his coat. And just another mention of this snarl, which is a very specific term, I think, here. That is also referring back to sort of that, like, more death snarl.
Yeah, because that's what it was described as when the Fade showed up, was he, instead of going for his bow, he goes for the dagger, even though that might not be the best weapon to, fight something pretty far away.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the whole way this first little couple pages are written, it's clear that these boys have been through some shit in the last couple of days, because them knowing what to do and how to react, and, like, they're looking for dust trails, they know to get off the road, they know not to cut through hedges, because they almost got caught that way previously too.
Yeah.
So it's like, find a natural way in. So they've been through stuff, and it's really just a question of what's happened.
Yeah, but Rand notes here that Matt seems to have forgotten that he has a bow, and Matt seems to be clutching the dagger more to protect the dagger than to protect himself from danger.
Yeah.
Which is interesting that even Rand is sort of picking up on how weird Matt is being about this dagger.
Yeah, and you kind of have to think about, like, where they were in Whitebridge with him with the dagger to now. Is it getting worse?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the big...
Seems that way.
Yeah, and that's the one big thing is to kind of look for right now.
Yeah. So when the men ride past them, they wait until the coast is clear, and then Rand says, "Phew, they aren't after us." And Matt says, maybe, and he's looking around warily in both directions like a super suspicious human. And Rand thinks about how it has been for them since leaving Whitebridge.
Yeah, and this would be like in the movie or the show where we get like the flashback scene.
The flashback.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of traffic on this road that they found out. And they noticed that the traffic is mostly heading sort of in the same direction they are.
Yeah.
So east towards Camelin, sort of.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the only things going west would be Barrelon.
And Whitebridge.
Well, yeah, leaving Whitebridge. Yeah, I guess, yeah.
If there's westward traffic, they'd be going to
Whitebridge or Barrelon. So, yeah. Like, there's not a lot.
Right. So, mostly, like, groups of farmers or merchants heading to villages to, like, sell their stuff. And Matt and Rand would sometimes catch a bit of a ride with the passing wagon. Probably one of the farmers who, like, gave them the scarves. I'm thinking, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. But you missed the fact that they're looking back, waiting for Tom to show up, and he never shows up.
I didn't miss that.
Oh, you didn't?
I just haven't said it yet.
Okay.
It's my next sentence.
Oh, okay.
I
was waiting for it because I know you think that he's not gone.
No, he's not.
So obviously he wouldn't. Well, he might not show up if he got on the boat, like that person had said.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking happened. But no, I didn't miss it because it's right here. So Rand also thinks about how at the beginning of their trip he found himself looking back from where they came, hoping to see Tom hurrying after them, but that hope sort of faded as the days passed.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the longer you go on, you're like, well, I guess he is dead.
Yeah, if he's going to catch up, he's going to catch up, sooner than later.
Right. But also, if he managed to either hide or escape on foot.
Yeah.
Right? Then he might be going the same speed as them or even slower.
Yeah, if he was, like, hurt.
Who knows? But, yeah, my instinct says he's probably on the boat.
Yeah, that's what I know you've made that pretty clear. You think he's alive and you think he's on the boat.
Yeah.
So I guess going south to Ilion was what they said.
Right, and the most important thing is that he's alive.
Yes.
Like, I really don't care where he is. That prediction might be wrong, and I think that maybe led us.
Okay.
A little bit. So I don't actually know exactly where he is. But anyways, back to these people who are for sure alive in this. Okay.
The road traffic.
Yeah. So whenever they see men on horseback, they sort of scramble off the road and hide as best they can, doing their best to avoid them. In the beginning, it was really just the Fade that they feared, but even Rand doesn't think that a Fade would let himself be seen so easily, coming down the road, kicking up dust.
Like, if a Fade can come out of the shadows, he's not going to be, like, galloping up to them.
No, and the first time you ever saw him, he...
like, appeared out of nowhere and
the wind
disappeared.
Didn't touch his cloak.
Yeah,
like,
so probably isn't going to kick up a bunch of dirt on the road, too.
Yeah, and he sort of knows that, but I think they're just being extra cautious.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea to avoid, like, people right now, so... it's a funny note because we've gotten a couple calls to Rand's perception of things where he says it's a considerable amount of traffic, but it's like considerable amount for Rand.
Yeah.
Like, it really actually might not be that much traffic.
Yeah.
And the reason I thought of that is because earlier, when they first visited Baerlon, Rand had said it was weird because all the fruit and vegetables was like of a really bad quality.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Yeah, but it's like in reality, it might have just been fine, but not comparatively to fresh picked off the tree.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly the point I had made when we did talk about that.
Yeah, it's just like in his perception, it's like a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Which is like a dozen people maybe, but
yeah.
It's just kind of funny.
So they pass villages that remind Rand of Emmonsfield, with houses which have thatched roofs and good wives in aprons and children playing on the village green, and this makes Rand homesick, but then he thinks to himself about how he wouldn't even be able to look Tam in the eye now that he knows all this new information about his past, and he thinks about how he's like not from anywhere, and the Dark One has him marked.
Yeah, so this is a really negative thought pattern he's having here, and if you really read through these sentences, it's like super intrusive thoughts that he's having here.
Yeah.
Like when he does say the thing about Tam where it's like you couldn't even look him in the eye, and he also says at one point you might as well stop. One place is as good as another when you aren't from anywhere. It's like it's really down on himself more so than usual.
Yeah, I know, I agree. But so the one thing that sort of piqued my interest was the fact that he said the Dark One has him marked.
Yeah.
Because that's a really interesting way for him to put it, considering Moraine's only ever really said the Dark One wants you. Now I'm thinking of the dream that Perrin had.
Yep.
Where Baalzamon said, I mark you mine.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering if Rand has had a dream where Baalzamon has said those words also.
Yeah.
That we just missed.
Yeah, we might not have seen that, and it's totally possible that that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, because it's just really the specific wording is interesting.
And it seems like the three boys are having very similar dreams.
True.
Yeah, because whenever they talk to each other about it, there's always similarities.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's a good assumption.
So Mat forces Rand on, like, looking at the village suspiciously, like, there's something hiding in it. And I just said, this is more bad behavior.
Yeah.
From Mat, you know, and now it's becoming more of who Mat is.
Yeah.
Like, we've almost known him as long like this as we've known him the other way.
Yes, that's very true.
In the book. So, you know, happy-go-lucky, hilarious, prank-pulling Mat
He's
is
gone
almost
right now.
like no more. And this is just who we can expect.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, keep in mind, here when he's saying, here where it's describing him as looking suspiciously at the village, this is at the beginning of their journey too. This isn't where we are at the beginning of the chapter. That's like days and days and days in the future.
Right.
So this is like the start of the journey.
Yeah, that's true too. But it seems bad either way.
Yeah, it's
like,
not
it just
good.
Seems bad. So Mat and Rand spend a couple nights sleeping outside, sort of curled up under bushes, and the money that they do have, they really have to ration to get a meal or two at an inn, but they don't have enough for like a bed, like, or a room at all.
Yeah.
So at one point, Rand suggests again about selling the ruby dagger, and this pisses Mat off. And
this is a big thing for him.
Yeah, but he demands.
Ah, you noticed that. Demands angrily.
Yes,
yeah.
I know. And now every time, because it's in my head, because you said it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for it. But yeah, every time he says, this time specifically, he says, he demands why Rand is so anxious to sell it. You ever think I might want to keep it? If you want to sell something, sell that bloody sword.
Yeah, whoa.
And Rand has a pretty good argument for this, I think.
He does.
So he's a little taken back and says that, like, this is my father's. He gave it to me. Like, plus, what would a farmer want with a sword? Even if I did sell it, it's the ruby that's worth anything here. And they could travel like kings to Camelin, basically. But then they just glare at each other. Yeah,
so this does definitely cause a bit of a fight here. But it also kind of reminds me of when Mat told Rand, like, don't tell anybody I have this until I'm ready to tell people.
Yeah.
So this is, again, where now that he wants to sell it, it's a huge issue.
Yeah.
So, doesn't seem like there's going to be any possibility of them being able to sell this dagger.
No, definitely not. And Rand is sort of noticing that, his feet hurt and he's just hungry and, emotions could be potentially a little bit higher.
Oh, yeah.
So Matt sort of takes a different approach here. He's almost like thinking, okay, well, going straight at him made him mad. So he says, like, a farmer wouldn't pay for it, in money. Like, what would they use? Chickens?
Yeah, and
right?
I mean, it's a good point, because, like, who wants to buy a sword or a dagger or a ruby in the middle of the country?
Yeah.
Like, they don't have use for that.
Yeah,
so.
there's no one to sell it to who could give them money for it anyway.
Yeah, like, if they get to Camelin, then maybe
Sure.
they could sell it in the city, but, like, not here in the country.
No, it's a fair point, for
Yeah.
sure.
And the funny part, too, is that they also, in this argument, talk about that if they do show the dagger with the ruby, people might think that they stole it.
Yeah.
And that's really similar to what we heard about the White Cloaks with Perrin's axe.
Right.
Right? This couldn't belong to you. This is too nice for you.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay. So they sort of just say sorry and make up and move on. So we go on to find that they have been spending some nights at different farms along the way, trading work and labor for a meal and a place to sleep, mostly in barns.
Yep.
And Rand has an inner struggle with this because he feels like they are wasting time. They could be traveling, and he doesn't really know which is worse, wasting time or going hungry.
Yeah. So here's a question, because this is a theme that we come across quite a few times in this chapter, where Rand keeps thinking we need to travel every daylight hour we can. Like,
Yes.
I don't want to stop for a couple hours at the end of the day because the Fade could be catching up, this, that, and the other thing. But that's like a constant theme. But besides the fact that the Fade can, like, teleport through shadows from what we know.
Yeah, he's not like running after them on the road.
Besides that point, but if the Fade was chasing them, we know he's got a horse, right?
Yeah.
Like, we know Fades can get a horse pretty easily.
I think that Rand is basically just doing everything in his power anyway.
To move quickly? Or?
To move to where Tom told them to go.
Okay.
I think that's more what it
has. Like, logically, they'd get caught up on anyways. Doesn't matter how fast you're moving.
There's something to be said with having a mission, though, to occupy yourself and distract yourself from what's, like, actually going on in your lives.
That's true. It's like the one, if we can get to Camelin, everything will be okay.
It was kind of like when he was thinking about getting to Emmons Field when he was dragging town.
True. Like,
it's
once I get there, it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's like having the mission, having the end point in mind, just got to keep moving to basically distract yourself from what's actually going on.
Yeah, okay.
And if he's going to convince himself that he's got to keep moving to outrun a Fade, which doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't seem,
then that's just sort of what he has to do right now, I think.
That's a good point.
So when Rand is thinking about all of this, about how, they're sort of doing labor, they're shoveling hay and doing all this stuff for farmers.
Yep.
Then Matt is getting sort of suspicious of all of these farmers. And he says, no, he demands,
yeah.
what do we know about them anyway?
Yeah.
And he goes beyond worrying about, like, just hunger. He's worrying about these people's intentions.
Yeah.
When it's like, you're the strangers to them.
Yeah,
You're
definitely.
the ones entering their property and asking for their food and their barns to sleep in.
Yeah, like, you're the weird one in this situation.
Exactly. And he's talking about this old farmer carrying a bucket of milk into his house. But then the farmer notices Matt.
Like, side-eye glaring at him.
Yeah, exactly. And Matt says, he's up to something, I tell ya.
Yeah.
See the way he couldn't meet my eye?
So this is what I'm talking about. There's a progression of Matt getting worse and worse and worse.
Yes.
As they travel further and further.
Yeah. But Matt is going to ruin this for everyone.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Rand having to spend all his time traveling with Matt because he is being so annoying. And, like, I get that he's cursed or whatever this
Yeah, I was
going to
ask, do you have any, like...
But, like, geez, I don't know.
So do you still think, like, this all stems from the dagger? Is that the ruling concept here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, the dagger's making him worse.
It's the dagger,
Okay.
it's the more death, it's the Shadar Logoth, the Shadar, it's the something. The fact that, we talk about this a lot with Matt lately, but it's definitely Mordeth showed up 2,000 years ago in Eredhall and ruined everything for Eredhall.
Yeah.
Right? So Mordeth, for the first time in however long, ran into some humans, and it seems like whatever he did back then, he's trying to do again now.
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing that we can kind of take too, because we know Mordeth showed up in Eredhall and it affected the entire city. Yeah. It's not like it just affected one person. It was everybody in the entire city, in the vicinity.
It's logical to assume that it has to do with a physical object.
Yep.
Right? So the fact that Matt has this dagger, right, and took it or whatever, or maybe Mordeth is just sort of desperate for getting out, or...
Yeah, like that escape.
Yeah, because he's locked in there.
Yeah, he clearly wants to escape.
So obviously he's using whatever he knows how to do to get out.
Yeah,
somehow. Okay. I don't know. Really, it's hard for me to take a hard stance on this, but I would say maybe it has something to do with like the treasure. It's possible everybody in the city got some treasure.
Okay.
Or something, and he's able to sort of possess them all that way. Or not possess, but like...
Yeah,
affect them in some way. It's hard at this point because I don't know if what's happening to Matt is exactly the same as what happened to the entire city. It sounds similar, but in Mordeth's desperation to get out, it could be a more targeted attack.
Yeah, so like it just... Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So Rand tells Matt to quit worrying, and Matt can't because he's cursed or whatever. And Matt's annoying habits have gotten them into trouble before, turns out. They've had dogs set on them once, and now this farmer tells him that there are his 4 big, strong sons coming back for dinner, so they can't stay.
Yeah, I totally forgot. Yeah, the phrasing is so funny.
Yeah, because it's like...
Yeah, big lads, strong.
They're really strong. Don't try to come back here or do anything, because they'll get you.
Yeah, they're going to be here right away.
Yeah.
It's like, totally not, but...
No.
Yeah, so, I mean, in this case, and this is kind of what my question is, because we also see the people reacting to the boys progressively worse and worse as time goes on, too.
Yes, that's true. But the old lady sort of feels sorry for them and gives them some food in a napkin, but, like, they have to leave now.
Yeah.
So the further they go, the more suspicious of strangers Matt becomes. And this is all from Rand's point of view. So this is Rand noticing that this isn't just Matt brooding in the corner, like on the boat, right? Yeah. Like, this is another level. So along the way, they get to the Grinwell's farm. And Rand says that he finds the solution to all their problems. So great. So Mistress Grinwell, this is a hard word for me to say.
Yeah, Grinwell. So
Mistress Grinwell insists on washing their clothes for them and actually reminds Rand of Mistress Alvir.
Yeah, and that's funny because Perrin had that same feeling about Isla.
I said that's nice. So Perrin and Egwene got one of those motherly figures, and now Rand and Matt get one too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice along their travels.
Yeah, these people seem like genuinely good people too.
Yeah, they have like 9 kids.
That sounds like a lot, but not really.
No.
Not for this day and age.
I guess so.
You need more hands to work the farm.
Right.
So.
Absolutely. So Rand notes here that the eldest daughter actually seems to be a bit of a problem for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but like a good kind of problem? Not like a fade kind of problem.
Not a fade kind of problem, but, just as bad for Rand.
Yeah.
Turns out. So, dark hair, big-eyed, and pretty.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of someone else by that description.
Oh, does it? Perhaps Egwene?
Yeah, perhaps.
Perhaps Egwene.
Like, almost the exact same description.
Yeah.
Which is vague, but funny.
It is.
Yeah.
It's also kind of funny that Egwene gets a male figure.
Yeah.
And now so does Rand.
Rand gets a female figure.
Gets a counterpart.
Rand doesn't get a male figure.
Yeah.
Except that Egwene totally embraces it and enjoys it.
And Rand has no idea what to do.
Oh, he hates it.
He can't have any fun.
No, none. Actually, 0. Because her name is Elsie? Else?
Just Else.
Else.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Else sure likes these boys at her farm, and she grins at them whenever her parents aren't looking, and she especially takes a liking to Rand saying that she likes tall men.
And we know that Rand is tall.
Very tall. Right. And she goes, oh, all the boys around here are so short. Right. So that's really funny. So Rand is working around the farm here without a shirt on.
Yeah.
Because his clothes are getting washed. This makes him really uncomfortable because she's like staring at him.
She's ogling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And like, good for her.
Yeah.
Go for it, girl. But he hates this. And so he puts a shirt on that's too small.
Yeah, too tight. And it's like, okay, that's not going to help.
No, it's actually not going to help. But she laughs and laughs, and he's just so embarrassed. Rand thinks that if they are chased off this time, it won't be Matt's fault.
Yeah, and clearly Matt's been the problem up until now, but now it's Rand.
Yeah. So
with his stunning good looks.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Jeez. So Rand is so uncomfortable, and he thinks Perrin would know what to do.
Classic.
Which is so great. This is so funny.
Just that they all think that each other are better.
Not they all.
Perrin and Rand.
Yeah. And Matt I don't even know how he feels. I don't know if Matt feels that Perrin and Rand are both good with ladies and he's not.
We haven't seen that side of the relationship
we don't know yet.
So
that's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Rand is very concerned about the father catching on, seeing his daughter moon over him, but turns out it's her mother who is much more perceptive.
Yeah, because the Master Grinwell doesn't even notice.
No, which is sort of odd. It's like backwards, especially from Rand's thinking.
Yeah.
Rand's like, that dad's going to have a shotgun at me, right? Whatever. Yeah. Do shotguns exist?
No. He's going to have a...
Set the dogs on me.
Set the dogs on you, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly that kind of thing where it's like the shotgun at the door saying, get out.
Yeah, but no. It's the mother who ends up having
there is definitely
problem.
A fun little exchange at the end of the chapter, so but we'll get to it.
Yeah, but after supper, Matt takes out the colored balls out of Tom's case and actually juggles for the children in the house, and we find out he's more at ease when there are children around.
Yeah.
And that sort of makes Rand happy. No. I didn't think into it.
Yeah, the only reason I was thinking is because Matt's got siblings at home.
Oh, yeah.
So it might put him more at ease if he's thinking, like, being at home with his...
Right, make him more like himself.
Yeah.
Maybe? Okay.
Maybe just, like, revert a little bit back to natural Matt, so...
Okay. And then after Matt is done juggling, Rand takes the flute out to play a tune, but he still doesn't touch the harp.
Yes.
He remembers the rules. No country bumpkins.
Get to touch my harp.
Get to touch the harp. So he takes out the flute and plays a tune. And he likes taking it out to almost keep Tom's memory alive.
Yeah, and this is literally playing for your supper.
Literally. That's what this is. So, thanks to their entertainment, they get offered an actual bed. But Mistress Grinwell has been watching her daughter smiling at Rand all night. And when Master Grinwell suggests that they stay tomorrow too, she quickly says that, they'll have to get off to an early start tomorrow if they want to get to the next village named Arian.
Yeah, Arian.
Okay. So she suggests that they get to an inn and play there, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a couple things I want to go through because you went through a couple pages there.
Yeah, I did. Okay.
Yeah, but that is a good summary, definitely, because it is a pretty fast-paced chapter on that side of things.
Yeah.
But a couple funny points that I wanted to mention here. The whole play for your supper mentality hasn't really been a thing up until this point. The Grinwells is really where Rand and Matt figure out that they can be entertainers to get by.
Right, because Master Grinwell actually says, I've seen worse entertaining.
Yeah, I've paid for worse
inn.
at inns. Yeah. So you guys could legitimately do this. So that's kind of the big indicator that we can do this as a way to travel.
Yeah.
Right? And it does mention that Rand had played a couple of tunes previously for farmers who let them stay in the barns. But up until this point, it wasn't like an actual thing. And from this point going forward, that's when it gets a little bit easier to travel.
Yes.
And the best part is that when Mistress Grinwell offers them to sleep in the bed, like in Elsa's bed, so that Elsa sleeps with her, it's so that Elsa doesn't sneak out to the barn to get busy with Rand.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a nice fun little thing the mom does to make sure that her daughter doesn't...
And she, Elsa, grimaces at this thought, oh, damn, I'm caught.
Totally caught.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because if, that didn't happen, Rand would totally get a surprise visit in the barn.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would have rathered that.
I'm
a
sure.
little roll in the hay.
Oh, there you go.
If you
So
will.
that's where it comes from.
Yeah, that's so funny.
It's actually probably where the phrase comes from.
Probably, actually.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I've never looked into that, but I bet that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, where else would you go?
The barn.
Yeah.
Roll in the hay.
Yeah.
Why not?
I can't imagine hay's very comfortable, though.
No, it's pokey.
Yeah.
But whatever.
You have
Straw
no options.
mattresses were a thing, though. Like, that
Yeah,
was
but,
a
like,
thing.
that's not a comfortable thing. I guess comfortable for the time.
Yeah, it was stuffing, padding.
Yeah, it's better than sleeping on the ground.
Yeah, but so anyways, they leave, and the whole next day, Matt teases Rand about Else, and he is just so uncomfortable with it. He's just, like, trying to talk about anything but that. And...
So here's a question for you
Yeah.
that I just had. If Else had have had the opportunity to meet Rand in the barn,
yeah,
and she went to Rand in the barn,
yeah.
what would Rand have done?
Probably a similar reaction to Perrin and the girls.
Yeah.
Like, avoid at all costs.
I feel like Else would be a little bit more forward too,
It's likely.
but that's a fun thing to speculate on.
It's fun, in a way. Sure.
Well, you still have that running bet of who's gonna,
Yeah, do the deed.
do the deed first.
Yeah. I still don't think Rand, so...
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. Especially with this reaction.
I think he would have, like, talked his way out of it. He would have, like, woke Matt up and, like, literally ran away, like, leaving her there. I think he still has Egwene on the brain.
He might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what makes it so uncomfortable for him to even... Because he was uncomfortable in Baerlon with that girl he was dancing with, who was, like, smiling at him and winking at him. And that
Yeah.
was while Egwene was there.
Yes, that's true.
So, yeah. I think other people, other girls, other women make him uncomfortable in situations like this. Because he is still technically, in
like
his
promised
mind,
to Egwene?
promised to Egwene.
Yeah.
So anyways, to get Matt to stop talking about this girl, he talks about how Mistress Grinwell had suggested about playing at an inn. So, once they get to the next village, they talk to the innkeeper, and we actually don't get to know about his hair or weight situation.
We do.
The innkeeper?
Yeah, he was described as a plump innkeeper.
Oh!
Yeah.
I missed it. I even made a note about it.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't get to know about his hair, though.
We don't, but we do know it says
He's
which
plump.
the plump innkeeper. Yeah.
So I think it's just good to know maybe that an innkeeper is a position of maybe wealth. Like, you always have money coming in.
Okay.
And you also live in a place that has a kitchen.
Yes.
Like,
so
you
you can
always
keep
have an
yourself
influx
fed.
of
Yeah.
food
Yeah.
that is just part of your profit margins,
Yeah.
if you will.
I mean, that was a pretty well. I don't know if it's well documented. I don't know if I want to go that far, but like being plump, what was a symbol of status?
Oh, for
Where
sure,
if you
that
can
part,
afford
yeah.
forward,
I
if
thought you were going to say it was a symbol for, like, it's well documented that innkeepers were fat. I was like, yeah, no, don't say that.
No, just
But
like
it's
the
definitely-
wealthy,
yeah, it's
right? Because then you
definitely-
can afford food.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a symbol of status.
Yes.
Definitely. But anyway, so they get to play there for a meal and a bed.
Yeah.
So they get their first gig.
Yeah, first paying gig.
Yeah.
We'll call it.
Cool.
And remember
For it.
when Tom was offended when the innkeeper said, "I'll give you a discounted rate on the room
Yeah.
if you play here."
Yeah.
And he said any respectable innkeeper would, provide that for me for free
And pay me.
and pay me.
Yeah.
So
That's
Tom was right.
Yeah, he was. And it was a good point to note because then they know what to ask for.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't ask for a discount, right?
Yeah.
They bargained, or, like, we don't get much of that at all. But we do know that they got a bed. They have to share it. They only get one bed. But they also got a meal.
Yeah, but that's better than what they've been doing because it is mentioned a couple times that multiple times they're sleeping out in the open, under bushes, and more often than not, they're, like, not eating.
Yeah, and I also... Something that we don't get much note of in the last couple chapters is it's still really cold.
Yes.
It is still basically winter.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be anymore, but it is.
Yeah, we're
And
like
they're-
on the outs of it, so
yeah,
like,
exactly. And so they only have their cloaks to keep them warm. And it's like, that doesn't seem like very much, considering that grass isn't even growing and there's no leaves on trees yet.
yeah.
Right? So, That's Colt. So the best part about playing in these inns, so they are stopping at every village, they're getting to play and perform and get these meals. But for Rand, the best part is that they're full of strangers who don't mind being looked at suspiciously.
Yeah, because Matt's clearly like still glaring at everybody.
Everyone.
But no one's noticing now.
Yeah, because there's even strangers glaring at everyone else, and it's tough times. And no one cares if Matt is being like a crazy weirdo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a positive for Rand, who clearly was upset with his buddy for like ruining things for them a lot of times.
Yeah, because that definitely hasn't helped on this journey.
No. But Rand also notes that he gets to spend sort of all their daylight hours traveling instead of working on a farm.
Yeah.
So
and again, that's kind of that whole like, does it really matter? Probably not.
Well,
but in
there's
Rand's
not
mind,
a lot of hard labor, so that in itself is better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he also notes that he's sleeping really well after all of this, even if he is sharing a bed with Matt and his, quote, nocturnal muttering.
Yeah, so I wanted to point this out because this is another mention. We've had a couple mentions this chapter of Matt muttering in his sleep.
Right.
Multiple times. So I just want to see if you had anything to look into there.
Well, we don't get anything about what he's muttering.
Yeah.
But I can assume if we're going on this whole more death thing,
yeah,
that there's something going on in his head.
Some sort of not good stuff happening?
Not good stuff happening.
All
Put
right.
that on the record.
Boom, done.
Done. So in the morning, the innkeeper tries to get them to stay another night, which is interesting. That's how good they were.
Yeah.
So when he can't, he calls over a farmer to take them 5 miles down the road in a cart.
Farmer who
Yeah.
was too drunk to drive home.
Yeah.
There's a lesson there.
Yeah, it's so funny. To drive his cart home.
Yeah.
Like his horse and cart.
Yeah.
Where the horse is going to do all the driving, basically.
Yeah.
Like, I just think that's such a funny notion. Like, go RJ for just, like, sticking in
Yeah.
a little life lesson in there.
Don't do it.
Even farmers in bars get too drunk and don't drive home.
Yes.
Don't drink and drive.
There you go.
There you go.
Public service announcement.
Because then you get to meet some nice farm boys in the morning.
Yeah.
And give them a ride.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. But that is a very positive thing because that seems to be a trend
A big trend.
Yeah, they hitch rides for a couple miles.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so now this is how they're traveling, using the skills that good old Tom taught them to get further. And Rand thinks that they will have a really easy time traveling now all the way till Camelin.
Yeah, it'll be super good and fun, and nothing bad will happen at all. The end.
Yeah, and normally that is like the period how a chapter ends.
Yeah.
Except this time we get a little
just a little cliffhanger.
A little cliffhanger.
You know what? I love the writing because a cliffhanger at the end of a chapter is like almost unnecessary because the typical reader is just going to go into the next chapter.
Yes.
But it's like he does it anyways.
No,
it's great.
It's good. It's really popular in a lot of children's novels and young adult novels because I read a lot of novels as novel studies to my students.
Yeah.
And the best is when I get to leave a chapter on a cliffhanger
Ooh,
and close
shut the book. Oh my
And
goodness.
then my kids are so engaged and they're like, no.
And
I'm
that's
like,
literally what we're doing to you.
Yeah, I know, every time. It's the worst. it's like the worst retribution. It's all coming back on me.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a little karma.
But. Yeah, because I get to go, and it's time for recess. And they all go, no. And that's what you want, right? You want kids to be so into reading.
Yeah, it's like move on to makes you want to move on to the next chapter.
So the cliffhanger is, but then they came to 4 kings.
Yes.
And that was my question before about 4 kings and what is it, and it hasn't been mentioned at all yet, and I think probably for reason here.
Yes, for the fact that obviously it is a chapter and we know that now, but also for the fact that it is a bigger town than what we've come across so far.
Yes.
So, but I want to do a couple things here because the fun fact about the way they're traveling, it seems like on the first half of their journey, it was really, really rough until they got to the Greenwell farm, and then they learned they can play for the shepherd, at which point everything got a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I wanted to look at the map with you to figure out where everyone is, because if you remember where the 4 Kings town is...
It's after the Arthur Hawkwing statue.
It is.
Yeah, and so I'm wondering, that was my next thing I wanted to talk about when we were done. because I knew that we weren't going to take too long to get sort of through the summary of this chapter. And so I wanted to talk about a little bit Perrin and Egwene, who are at the steading surrounding the Archer Hawkwing statue.
Yeah.
Which is basically just before, or about maybe halfway, a little more than halfway, between Whitebridge and
Four Kings. Yeah, and the Archer Hawkwing statue is like halfway between Whitebridge and Camelin. So it seems like Perrin and Egwene crossed the river and then have been going through the wilderness and then hit Archer Hawkwing statue because they got redirected. So they were probably going too far north.
Yeah.
And then once they met Elias, cut south to the statue. And then Rand and Matt and Tom crossed at the bridge because they came down the river and then went on the road. So they're almost moving parallel.
Yes.
But just like separated.
Right. But now they're caught and we know
they're heading to Camelin.
They're heading to Camelin. So chances are they're going down to the road to go to Camelin.
Yeah, because the White Cloaks would probably take the road.
They set up a camp. They probably went just off the road to the steading that they probably know is there.
Yeah.
And they went down. They're probably going to go down to go across the road.
Yeah.
So if they don't meet up in the Four Kings, because this chapter doesn't provide me with
a time frame. We don't know where they are.
No idea.
And we also don't know.
Has it been 7 nights? Has it been 14?
Yes.
Right? So
and we also don't know exactly where Moiraine, Lan, and Nynaeve are because we know that they went from Whitebridge north to meet up with Perrin and Egwene.
Right. And I also like that Matt and Rand have been staying at inns now along the way.
Yeah.
Because if Moiraine and Lan and Nynaeve are going to head into the one inn in a village, she'll be able to sense that they were there and follow their tracks.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
If they go back to going along the road, because we know they went up into the wilderness.
Yeah.
But now Perrin has lost his GPS, so who knows?
Yeah, so everyone kind of is missing all their coins, but hopefully there's enough to find them.
Yes, and we know a bunch of shit's about to go down because of this cliffhanger, and I want to go read it.
Yeah, and just as a last note, just for order of events, because I wanted to clarify, because I know it did get confusing for a lot of people. Yeah. So the first thing from Whitebridge, they have the first village where they don't stop because they're too close to Whitebridge, and that's when they start sleeping in bushes. And then they have multiple nights of sleeping under bushes and not eating, really.
Yeah.
And that's when they have that fight about Matt's dagger.
Yeah.
And then they go to a few farms where they try to get some food, sleep in barns a couple times.
There's a couple times they try to steal eggs.
Yeah, Matt tries to milk a cow. That's always awesome. And they tuck themselves into hay bales, which is really funny. Yeah. And I just think of like Luke Skywalker with a tauntaun.
Oh, really? That's what you thought of?
Yeah, you like tuck yourself in for the nice warm nap, you know?
That was to like stop from dying.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's different.
Same thing.
No.
And then they reach a farm where they have dogs set on them while they're working.
Yes.
And that event was 3 days before the, Four Big Lads farm.
Yeah.
And that's when they reached that farm where they were invited in, but then, kicked out on their own. And then they reached the Grinwell farm and then Arian. So that's kind of the order of events there.
And then now it says that after that, they hit actually a couple inns, a couple villages. It seems like multiple because it gets better depending on the size of the village. Because if there's 2 or 3 inns, it's almost like the inns bid for them.
Yeah, and so they actually start making some money too.
They get some coppers in their pocket, they get separate beds, and they're actually doing pretty well for themselves.
Yeah, and then they hit Four Kings. So it seems like the space between Whitebridge and Four Kings, like maybe a week or 2, at least that.
Yeah.
Because we get so many mentions of specific events.
Yeah, I was really hoping there was going to be a mention of the full moon.
Yeah.
That's what I honestly was looking for.
Yeah.
And maybe it's still coming.
It might be.
Because we really are all over the place. So I'm hoping for that because that was my little signifier of time for Perrin and Egwene with the full moon.
Yeah.
And
just keep in mind that Rand and Matt were moving faster on the boat and Perrin and Egwene moved really slow with the Tinkers.
That's true. Oh my god.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I will tell you that RJ does throw in identifiers like full moons.
Yes.
To signify time.
Yeah, and I'm really good at picking those things out.
Yeah.
especially when I'm looking for them.
Especially.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but I bet you can't wait to read about Four Kings
No,
in
I
Shadow.
can't. And I'm especially excited because you're excited.
Yes, but I'm excited about every chapter.
I know, but especially when I suggested doing a double chapter episode.
Yeah.
Because this one was relatively short. It was only 12 pages.
Yeah.
And you went, nope.
Yeah.
Nope, that one has to be on its own.
Yep.
So that makes me very curious and excited because
any predictions?
Ooh. The thing I'm most worried about in terms of people meeting up,
Yeah.
quite honestly, is the White Cloaks meeting up with Rand and Matt. Rand specifically.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we know it's the Bornhold, whether the son is there or not, like in that
Yeah,
camp with
so
them.
Dane, the son, Dane Bornhold,
Yeah.
is the one who spotted and had that interaction with Rand.
Right.
Specifically.
And we assume that they're part of the same camp.
Yeah, it
And
kind of makes
so-
sense.
Yeah. I'm also wondering about Elias, because at the end of last chapter, we really didn't get a clarification on what the wolves are doing, what Elias is doing. We know that in the report, they didn't get any other men.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that he escaped and potentially cut off communication on purpose with Perrin.
Yeah.
Just so that, for safety reasons.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we're going to get to him again, because I really wanted the Elias Moraine meeting. I thought that was going to be entertaining.
Yes. No, I agree completely. So.
But I think no matter what, there's going to be trouble, and I want to say it has to do with the White Cloaks.
Okay.
That makes the kind of the most logical sense.
From what we've experienced so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or the only other more logical thing is more Murdral and Trollocs and like Baal-Zaman or something.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like that's the more sort of obvious.
Well, keep in mind
thing.
that the chapter symbol is the dragon's fang.
Mm.
And typically we get that when there are bad things. Usually with White Cloak so far, we've gotten the sunburst.
True, but they're also the type of people who would draw the dragon's fang.
Oh, good point. Okay.
Right? So maybe it's both.
Good catch. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think it's time to end
all right,
this.
It's time to go. Okay.
Time to go because you need to read.
And this is part of the pattern. Goodbye. All right. Thank you for this. I'm glad we got to clarify some things here too. Slow down a little bit.
Yep.
Take some time to sort of figure out where we are. And
Yep.
I think things are going to ramp up. So I'm excited.
Definitely will.
Okay. This is definitely part of the pattern now.
It's part of the pattern.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Wheel Weaves. If you're interested in bonus content, cool stickers, shoutouts, access to exclusive insider looks, and to support us making great content, you can head over to patreon.com/The Wheel Weaves podcast. You can find us on social media where we love interacting with our listeners. We're on Twitter at The Wheel Weaves Podcast and on Instagram at The Wheel Weaves Podcast. You can also join the conversation on our Discord channel. There is a channel for no spoilers that I have access to, and we also have a spoilers channel that Brett controls, so fun for everybody. There will be a link on Twitter and also over on our Patreon page. You can check that out. Please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe. This really does make a huge difference. Plus, if you want to tell a friend about us, maybe someone who is just getting into the book series for the first time, or other longtime fans who you think would enjoy us, word of mouth is the best way for us to reach new listeners, and we would take it as a really huge compliment. Thanks, as always, to audionautics.com for the music, and thanks to you awesome listeners.